The next time you open a packet of biscuits from your pantry, I want you to hold it in your hand and really, feel the weight.
Right, because it probably feels a bit lighter.
Exactly. And if it does feel mysteriously lighter than it did, say, a few months ago, the culprit isn't just some corporate board deciding to be cheap.
No, not
It's actually a shattered diplomatic channel in the Middle East and the looming threat of a pair of wire cutters at the bottom of the Red Sea.
It sounds like a movie plot, but it's very real.
It really is. So, welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to take a massive stack of sources from May 11, 2026 and unpack this exact phenomenon. We're calling it the ripple effect.
I like that. It fits perfectly.
Right. By the time we wrap up, you'll see the invisible but very real threads that connect global warfare, your mutual fund returns, and your local grocery store.
It's an incredibly dense web of cause and effect we are looking at today. I mean, we are moving all the way from the macro geopolitical scale, where decisions are made by world leaders in war rooms, straight down into the micro level of our daily routines.
Let's start at the absolute epicenter of this global domino chain then. The headline from our sources here is the escalating U.S.-Iran conflict and global security.
Right.
Our sources point straight to this escalating tension. President Trump just flat out rejected Iran's latest ceasefire proposal, and he called it, quote, totally unacceptable.
Yeah, and the markets reacted immediately.
Panicked is more like it. We're seeing Brent crude spiking to $104.80 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate is sitting near $99.
Which is massive.
Yeah, just to ground that for everyone, Brent is the global benchmark, while WTI is the U.S. domestic standard. Both of them sitting near or above $100 is just a massive red flag for the global economy.
Well, the panic makes complete sense when you look at the geography, right? I mean, rejecting the ceasefire effectively prolongs the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
And that's a major choke point.
Exactly. It's a maritime choke point where about a fifth of the world's daily oil consumption passes through. So when you shut that down, you are essentially choking the global industrial engine.
Wow.
Yeah. And Trump's rhetoric has been completely uncompromising. He declared Iran militarily defeated, claimed the U.S. could wipe out every target in 2 weeks, and, even threw a jab at NATO, calling the alliance a paper tiger.
Right. But his conventional military focus might be missing a massive asymmetrical threat. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Go ahead.
If Iran's traditional military is indeed depleted, they don't necessarily need fighter jets to strike back, do they?
Not at all.
Our intelligence sources highlight that they are perfectly positioned to target undersea communication cables in the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
We're talking about more than 500 commercial cables that carry over 99% of global digital traffic.
What's fascinating here is how this completely redefines modern warfare. It's a huge shift from controlling territory to controlling connectivity. I mean, these cables are literally just fiber optic tubes. Sometimes they're no thicker than a garden hose just resting on the ocean floor.
Wait, really? Just sitting there?
Yeah. Their locations are marked on public maritime charts so fishing trawlers don't accidentally snag them.
Oh, wow.
So that makes them incredibly vulnerable to intentional sabotage, and they carry trillions of dollars in daily financial transactions. They are the physical backbone of what we casually call the cloud.
That is terrifying.
We had a preview of this just last year in September 2025. Red Sea cable damage caused massive internet and banking outages across India and the Middle East.
So are we seriously looking at a reality where a diver with a pair of industrial wire cutters at the bottom of the ocean is now just as dangerous to global stability as a general with a nuclear launch code?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because these cables are basically the modern world's jugular vein.
And hybrid warfare relies entirely on that asymmetry. It is low-cost, deniable, and astronomically high impact. And it's not just the U.S. and Iran staring down this vulnerability.
Right, other countries are watching.
Exactly. Other isolated regimes are watching this conflict play out and taking notes. North Korea, for instance, saw the recent assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, in this ongoing conflict.
Yeah.
And they immediately realized their own centralized leadership is a massive vulnerability.
Which completely changed their nuclear doctrine overnight, right?
Yes, it did.
Following Khamenei's death, North Korea's Supreme People's Assembly just amended its constitution.
Yeah.
They didn't just issue a warning. They mandated an automatic, immediate nuclear strike if Kim Jong-un is assassinated.
Right, or if their nuclear command system is fundamentally threatened.
That's just wild.
Pyongyang is essentially creating a dead man switch. It's an automated deterrent strategy. If you decapitate the leadership, the system fires itself.
Wow.
What's equally telling is that they concurrently removed all references to Korean reunification from their constitution. So they are legally and psychologically fortifying their borders because they see the intense fragility of the current global order.
Okay, so how does a constitutional change in Pyongyang and a closed strait in the Middle East actually reach you, listening right now? Let's follow that ripple.
Let's do it.
Because that $104 crude oil is creating a massive economic shockwave. The next headline from our sources is Foreign Capital Flight and FMCG Shrinkflation. And this is hitting the Indian economy like a freight train.
It manifests first as capital flight. Foreign portfolio investors, these massive global funds that pump liquidity into Indian equities, are fleeing at a staggering rate.
How staggering are we talking?
Well, in just the first few days of May, they pulled out over 14,200 crore rupees.
Jeez.
And if you zoom out to look at 2026 as a whole, the outflow has crossed 2 lakh crore.
Wait, 2 lakh crore just this year?
Just this year. We are only in May, and that figure already dwarfs the entirety of 2025's 1.66 lakh crore total. Let's not forget March saw a record 1.17 lakh crore withdrawal on its own.
Over 2 lakh crore evaporating from the market. I imagine with the Middle East on fire, that capital isn't just sitting in cash, right? It's running to safe havens, like U.S. Treasury bonds, or maybe chasing the massive AI boom elsewhere.
You've hit on the exact two magnets for this capital. With global inflation fears rising due to oil prices, investors are moving their money into developed market bonds. The yields there are secure and, right now, very attractive.
Makes sense.
Simultaneously, growth-focused capital is shifting to AI-driven tech markets like South Korea and Taiwan, which have massive earnings momentum.
Okay.
Add to that a weakening Indian rupee, which erodes dollar-adjusted returns, and you have a perfect storm pushing foreign capital out the door.
So let's bring this down to the consumer level.
Yeah.
Because this massive capital flight combined with soaring crude prices is hitting fast-moving consumer goods companies, the brands making your daily essentials incredibly hard.
Very hard.
Our sources show Dabur is facing 10% inflation and has already hiked prices by 4%. Britannia is dealing with a 20% rise in fuel and packaging costs. And Pidilite's input costs have surged by an unbelievable 40 to 50%. Which I guess makes sense when you realize petroleum byproducts are essential for making industrial adhesives and glues.
Exactly. And companies facing those margins have a terrible choice. They can raise prices and lose customers, or eat the cost and go bankrupt.
So they turn to the psychological trick of shrinkflation.
Yes, they do.
Shrinkflation is basically the stealth tax of geopolitics. They keep those universally popular 5 rupee, 10 rupee, and 15 rupee price points, but they quietly shave a few grams off the bar of soap or put fewer biscuits in the packet.
The psychology behind it is fascinating. It relies on the fact that consumer price memory is ironclad, but volume perception is incredibly weak.
That's so true.
You all instantly notice if a 10 rupee packet suddenly costs 12 rupees. But you almost certainly won't notice if a 50-gram packet becomes a 42-gram packet.
Right.
And worse than that, shrinkflation isn't just a temporary band-aid, it's a trap. Historically, once companies reduce grammage and retool their manufacturing lines for smaller packaging, they rarely ever bring the weight back up when oil prices eventually stabilize.
So if foreign money is fleeing at this unprecedented rate and manufacturing costs are surging, how long before these FMCG band-aids completely fail the Indian consumer? I mean, shaving a few grams off only works for so long before the packaging is just empty air.
That is the exact macroeconomic cliff the government is staring at right now, and it explains why we are seeing a dramatic shift in domestic political messaging from the top down.
Yeah.
The central government realizes that traditional economic levers might not be enough to buffer this external shock.
Which brings us to our next headline. PM Modi's economic appeal and Manipur border security. Let's talk about PM Modi's recent mega rally at Hyderabad's parade grounds.
Okay.
He essentially framed lifestyle choices as a matter of national defense. He asked citizens to adopt a nationally responsible lifestyle to fight global inflation.
He is directly linking individual daily habits to macroeconomic survival. The directives he laid out are hyper-specific, too. Cut petrol and diesel use, take the metro, carpool, and return to COVID-era habits, like work from home and virtual meetings.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because he didn't stop at transportation, he urged citizens to avoid all non-essential gold purchases for a whole year.
Yes.
No foreign vacations. skip the destination weddings. He framed the saving of foreign exchange reserves as a literal act of patriotism,
It's a very strong message.
and he leaned heavily into a massive Swadeshi push, prioritizing local shoes and bags, cutting down on edible oil consumption. He pointed out that international fertilizer bags costing 3,000 rupees on the global market are heavily subsidized down to 300 rupees for Indian farmers.
Right.
So he urged a 50% cut in chemical fertilizer usage just to ease the import burden.
Structurally, this is an attempt to build an economic fortress. Just to clarify the mechanics here, every time India imports oil, gold, or fertilizers, it pays in foreign currency, mostly US dollars. When imports far exceed exports, you get a widening current account deficit. It's essentially the nation's overdraft fee. By begging the public to reduce import dependence, the government is desperately trying to plug the drain on foreign exchange reserves, which, as we discussed, are already being hammered by those FPI outflows.
I have to push back hard on the gold directive, though. Asking Indian families to stop buying gold, especially during wedding season, is like asking fish to avoid water. It is deeply culturally ingrained.
Sure.
Can individual lifestyle sacrifices like skipping a vacation or holding off on a gold necklace actually plug a macroeconomic hole caused by a global oil crisis? Or is this just psychological buffering?
Well, I disagree that it's purely psychological. We actually have a historical precedent for this.
Really?
Yeah, back in 2013, India faced a massive currency crisis, and the government made a very similar public appeal to curb gold imports.
Oh,
Culturally ingrained or not, when the leadership frames a financial choice as an urgent matter of national security, Indian consumer behavior historically shifts. At scale, if millions of families delay gold purchases by just 6 months, it genuinely takes billions of dollars of pressure off the rupee. It gives the central bank vital breathing room.
fair point. Meanwhile, as the government scrambles to secure the economic borders from capital flight, the actual physical borders are under intense, violent pressure.
Yes, they are.
Over in Manipur, Home Minister Govindas Kantujam just had to publicly deny allegations of foreign state involvement in the series of armed attacks on Tongkhol Naga villages in the Kamjong district.
The geography there is critical. Kamjong shares a highly porous border with Myanmar. The attacks were allegedly carried out by Myanmar-based militants using sophisticated weaponry. And while the Home Minister denied official foreign state involvement, meaning the Myanmar government itself, he openly acknowledged the complex reality on the ground. There are currently over 1,500 Myanmar refugees sheltering in that specific area since May 2024, fleeing their own internal conflicts.
And the devastation described in our sources is just absolute. A local NPF MLA noted that in Zichoro village, the destruction was so thorough that only the churches were left standing.
It's awesome.
The state government is crying out for 7,000 more security personnel just to stabilize that specific region.
This perfectly illustrates the dual front India is fighting right now. You have the invisible macroeconomic war of capital flight and inflation fighting against global market forces.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, you have very visible kinetic security challenges on the eastern border, compounded by the spillover of regional instability.
What's wild is that amidst all of this global war is altering internet security, the economy hemorrhaging foreign capital, border towns calling for thousands of troops, state-level politics marches on. It remains relentlessly cutthroat.
It never stops.
Let's transition to our next headline. State cabinet politics and a viral exchange. Taking a quick tour of the political battlegrounds, starting in Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath just executed a major cabinet expansion.
Yes. 6 new ministers were inducted and 2 were promoted. And rather than focusing purely on administrative roles, the strategy here is aggressively demographic.
Right.
He is heavily stacking the cabinet with OBCs, other backward classes, and Dalits.
The math is very deliberate. Out of a 60-member cabinet, there are now 25 OBCs and 12 Dalits. Key figures like Bhupendra Chaudhary and Manoj Pandey were brought in.
He is treating the state's demographics almost like a corporate merger. He is trying to hostilely acquire the opponent's voting base.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, the Samajwadi Party has been pushing their PDA narrative heavily. Pichhta, Dalit, Alpasankyak, which translates to backward classes, Dalits, and minorities. Adityanath's cabinet expansion is a mathematical, highly calculated attempt to dismantle that narrative piece by piece ahead of the 2027 state elections.
Then you look down south at Tamil Nadu, and the flavor of politics is completely different. Chief Minister C. Joseph Vijay had a wildly eventful first day in office.
He certainly did. During his swearing-in, he bypassed the standard protocol entirely.
He raised his fist, right?
Yeah, raised his fist, went off script to pledge the removal of hate, and actually had to be interrupted by Governor R.N. Ravi, who instructed him to stick strictly to the legally mandated written oath.
It's classic political theater. And there was also immediate controversy drawn from playing the national song Vande Mataram before the state's traditional Tamil invocation, Tamiltai Vastu.
Right.
But beyond the theater of rebellion, Vijay hit the ground running with actual governance. He immediately announced a white paper to investigate the previous government's alleged 10 lakh crore rupee debt, and he signed off on 200 units of free electricity for households.
And further down the coast in Kerala, we saw yet another distinct style of political maneuvering. Congress leader Ramesh Chinnisla was forced to publicly defend a 5-day delay in picking their new chief minister.
But he flipped the narrative on that, right? He contrasted the Congress's delay, which he called a process of democratic consultation, involving leaders like V.D. Sathisen and K.C. Venugopal against the BJP's style.
Yes.
He claimed the BJP just waits for instructions from Nagpur, referring to the RSS headquarters. He even threw in a historical jab, pointing out that the BJP took 50 days to pick a Delhi chief minister back in 2025.
Keeping a neutral lens on the party politics, what is fascinating to observe across UP, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala is how local political imperatives refuse to take a back seat.
Never.
The central government is practically begging for unified national resilience in the face of a global crisis, but at the state level, the relentless machinery of caste arithmetic, regional identity, and inter-party warfare doesn't pause for a second.
It's an incredible contrast. I mean, you have Vijay leveraging theatrical rebellion, Yogi Adityanath running demographic calculations, and Congress defending the slow committee route. But honestly, my absolute favorite piece of political news from these sources wasn't a rally or an oath. It was a rare moment of pure pragmatic clarity online.
Oh, the Rahul Gandhi exchange on X.
Yes. Rahul Gandhi had a viral exchange with his mutual fund distributor, a man named Muthukrishnan Tandapani. Now, Tandapani is a very vocal public supporter of the BJP and PM Modi.
Right.
But he posted this genuinely lovely story about how Gandhi and his financial team have always treated him with the utmost professionalism since 2013. They never once let opposing political ideologies get in the way of their business relationship.
It seemed intended simply to push back against the hyper-polarized narratives that dominate social media, proving that people can disagree vehemently on politics, but still maintain respectful, functional relationships.
And Gandhi's reply was just a masterclass in timing. He, quote, tweeted the story and just added, quote, "Please do speed up the returns."
It's pretty funny.
It blew up immediately, hitting 1.5 million views. Isn't it beautifully ironic that amidst all this cutthroat politicking and global economic panic, the one thing that perfectly bridges the ideological divide between a top Congress leader and a staunch BJP supporter is the universal, desperate desire for better mutual fund returns?
Economic pragmatism consistently overrides ideological divides. It is a deeply humanizing moment in an otherwise incredibly heavy news cycle.
Which is the perfect entry point into our final topic today. Because when the geopolitical weight gets too heavy, when the inflation numbers are climbing and the political theater is just exhausting, people need an escape.
Definitely.
Our final headline, high-stakes IPL finishes. In India, the ultimate escape is the Indian Premier League.
And the matches in our sources delivered pure, unadulterated adrenaline.
We aren't just talking about scorecards, we are talking about narrative arcs. Let's look at Royal Challengers Bengaluru knocking the Mumbai Indians at IPL 2026 in a last-ball thriller at Shahid Veer Narayan Singh Stadium.
What a match!
Mumbai put up a respectable 166 for 7. RCB was struggling massively. They were 47 for 3 after the power play, looking completely defeated. But they pulled off a miracle thanks to an incredibly gritty 73 from Krunal Pandya.
But Bhuvaneshwar Kumar was the true architect of that game.
Oh, absolutely.
He triggered the early Mumbai collapse with the ball, taking 4 wickets for just 23 runs. And then, in the final chaotic over, with the pressure at its absolute peak, he hits a massive 6-over deep cover. A bowler essentially sealing the run chase.
Just incredible. And if that was tense, Chennai Super Kings beating Lucknow Super Giants at Chipwalk was just a heavyweight brawl, a 400-run shootout.
Insane.
Lucknow put up 203 for 8, with Josh Inglis having a monster performance, hitting 85 off just 33 balls. He did everything right. But it didn't matter because Chennai chased it down powered by Urvil Patel, who came out swinging like he had a flight to catch.
Yeah, 23 balls, 65.
Matching the venue's record for the fastest 50.
Patel's innings completely dismantled Lucknow psychology. He hit a hat-trick of sixes off of Vesh Khan, and then Shivam Dubey walks in and finishes the match with two towering sixes of his own.
Ruthless.
It was ruthless, and it officially knocked Lucknow out of the playoffs despite Inglis's heroic effort.
After hearing about global wars and 10 lakh crore state debts, a 200-run chase almost feels relaxing. But looking at MI and LSG getting knocked out despite massive individual efforts, it proves that in cricket, just like in geopolitics, a single star player can't save a fractured system. It's a great reminder of why we watch. It's the ultimate release valve.
It really is.
But stepping back, it's also a reality check. Because the very screens we're watching those matches on, the massive data centers streaming that 400-run shootout to millions of phones simultaneously,
Yeah.
it all relies on those exact same vulnerable undersea cables in the Red Sea that we started this deep dive with.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that really is the ultimate takeaway from synthesizing these sources today. Everything we've discussed is a single continuous ecosystem. A fractured diplomatic system in the Middle East threatens internet infrastructure. The resulting oil spike chokes the Indian FMCG sector, altering the physical weight of the groceries we buy. That economic pressure forces a political push for a Swadeshi lifestyle to protect foreign reserves, even as state leaders simultaneously battle over caste demographics and regional identity.
The distance between a closed strait in the Middle East and the price of your groceries is basically zero. So, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If the undersea cables that carry our digital lives are at risk, and global supply chains are fracturing under geopolitical weight, are we moving toward an era where PM Modi's push for hyperlocal Swadeshi resilience isn't just a political slogan, but an absolute, undeniable necessity for survival in the 21st century? Something to think about the next time you pick up a local brand at the store. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. You are now, officially, the most well-informed person in the room. Until next time.